Hello everyone, welcome to Target45. My name is Jyoti. Today we are going to solve problems on mirrored triangle patterns. There are nearly some 22 patterns and they are really simple, and we are going to understand how they are interlinked and what are the changes we need to make in order to execute these patterns. So if you have not subscribed to Target45, please kindly subscribe to Target45. We are going to solve this kind of problems every day. So let's start. So if you see, so the pattern one is something like this, where the numbers are continuously decrementing. There are five rows, and the numbers are continuously decrementing. And in the first row, there are five numbers, and in the second row, four, and it is continuing up to one. If you see, there are two kinds of patterns here. One pattern is the numbers is decrementing. This 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is one pattern, and again in one row, another pattern. So it is evident that we have to use two for loops. So we are going to solve this patterns today with the help of join function. So basically I have grouped the similar format patterns under pattern 1. All these three are almost similar. So I have grouped them into pattern 1. So let's code. So we have five elements in the first row. So it is, we have to start at 5, we have to stop at 0, and we have to decrement by 1, and we have to print what? We have spaces. If you see the spaces in the beginning, so, and the spaces are continuously incrementing. So what we have to do, we have to give the space, and we have to multiply it with 5 minus I, because for example, if let's say if I is 5, in the first row we don't have any spaces, that is 5 minus 5 is 0. And the second condition is I equal to 4, so we have one space here. So this is going to execute like this. So this is how it is going to work. And after this, what we have to do, I said we are going to use join function. So what I am going to do, I am going to use another for loop in order to loop over the each row in order to print the pattern in each row. So what I'm doing is, I'm taking j here, and I have to convert this j to string, because we can use join method only on strings. That is why I'm converting that to string. If you see what is happening is, the entire code inside the join method is doing this. It is generating a generator object. It is returning a generator object. So can we check how it is doing? We can let's take I as 5 for our understanding purpose. Okay. If you see, we are getting a generator object. So this is doing this thing where it is generating a generator object. So if you want to see what is this generator object holding, the elements, you simply need to convert it to list. You can see for the first condition, let's say if I equal to 5, these 5 elements are being stored as a generator object. here. So what join is going to do, join takes this objects one by one and it separate with a space and combine all these elements and print in the format we are in need of. If you see, how is join doing it? Join is using lazy loading approach where it is taking the objects of generator on demand and it is storing it in the memory. So we are not even using any storage here. So that is how this is a very efficient method when compared to the traditional two for loops nested method. I am going to show you also. So what we'll do in the traditional two for loops method, I mean nested methods, what we'll do, we will write like this, where the first statement is the same. So we need the space first. So what we'll do, we'll take 5 minus I, comma, end equal to, we don't need and any spaces at the end. So we need a inner loop for loop to print the pattern in each row. So what I have to do, I need to increment it from 1 to I plus 1 and I have to print j and end equal to, there is space. So after this we need to make a call to print function so that it will be going to the next row once this for block is executed. So if you see, in this approach, in this approach we are making function calls using print unnecessarily, which is not so efficient solution when the string length is too long, because every time we have to make a function call and we have to tell that we have to go to the next line, and it is doing in very inefficient way using nested for loops. So for long strings this nested for loop is not recommended. Instead, if we use this join method, what happens is it is using generator object and using the lazy loading approach and doing everything on the fly instead of storing any memory in the storage. That is why we are using join for the strings today. And if the string length is really too long, it is always suggestible to use join. So I hope you understood. So this is how we solve the first pattern, which is this. So now we go to the alphabet pattern. See, if you see, it is the same format. It is, the pattern is the same, just that instead of numbers we have alphabets and here we have stars. How can we do this? I am simply doing one thing. I am copy pasting this, and what I have to do, I have to change only one thing. I am changing it to chr, because if we are dealing with the alphabets, we need to use chr function in order to represent alphabets, and in ASCII table 65 represent A, 66 represent B, and it continues. That is why I am using chr function here. Here you go. That's it. You just need to replace str of j with chr with 64 plus j. so that we'll get alphabets. In the same way, what we'll do for stars. So for stars, what we have to do, again, start at 5, stop at 0, increment by decrement by -1, and print. We need this space, multiply with 5 minus I, plus join operator, and tell the join operator. What will you tell? Do we really need a join operator here? Because if we see, there is no other internal pattern in this star pattern. So here we don't need any join function. Instead, we simply need to multiply this string with I. That's it. This is how we solve three patterns here for numbers, alphabets, and stars. In the same way, we are going to solve pattern 2, which is the inverted form of the first one. If you see, both are same, but here, so since we completed the pattern 1, I'm just removing it, and I'm copy pasting this because it is the, I'm going to tell you how it is different. So I am copy pasting this code, the previous code. So if you see, we started at 5 and we stopped at 0 because it was in the reverse format. Here if you see, we have one element and then it is getting incremented to 5. So what is the change we have to do? We have to change the outer loop. Outer loop is 1 to 6. If we do this, is this solved? Let me show for the stars. I'm removing this code. For star, let's solve the third pattern. You see the third pattern? Let's start coding. We are starting at 1 and we have to stop at 6, and we have to print the spaces 5 minus I. We have to use the join method for the space to concatenate all the strings. But if you see, we have to do a simple change in the range function, wherein we have to start with I, because we have to start with I and we have to decrement with, we have to stop at 0 and we have to decrement it by -1, because if you see, we have E and then D and then C, B, A, and this is continuing. So that is the reason why we are decrementing this range from I to 0. So let's see this. We have missed the dot operator here. We have missed the dot here. We have to concatenate all of this using join. So we missed this. So we have to execute now. Everything goes well. Okay. Here you go. So in the same way, if we go for alphabets, what we have to do? We have to use the chr function, and we have to start at 64, and we have to submit with j, and here you go. Is this the thing we need? Yes. So let's so here again pattern 4 is an inverted version of this. We know what we have to do when it is inverted. We simply have to do one thing, which is we have to change the we simply have to change what? Outer for loop range. So start at 5, stop at 0, decrement by 1, and here you go. And what about numbers? Instead chr we have to use str, and we have to take j there, and here you go. Pattern 4 is done. So we have to make simple changes. By making the simple changes, we can do a lot of patterns, and it is always exciting to solve these patterns. So we'll start with pattern 5. What we are doing in pattern 5, we are we have to start at 1, we have to stop at 6. Inside we have to write print, we need space 5 minus I, we need space dot join str of, I'll leave it, for j in range of what? 1 comma I plus 1. So what do we need to write here in j? Here in string. If we write j, what happens? We'll see. So we cannot use j here. Instead, what is the thing we have to use? We have to use I. So we got an error. The error is we have used multiplication here instead of plus. We need to concatenate it and ignore the first line. It is just pattern 5. So is this the thing we need? So when I'm using j, it is showing this, but instead we need what? We want the same element to be printed, right, in the each row. So instead of j, we need to use I. So what about for characters? It is just the same. We have to use chr 64 plus I. That's it. How can we solve for pattern 6? If you see, it is in the inverted format. So we have to start at 5, stop at 0, decrement by 1. Let's see. This is pattern 6. Here you go. So next move on to pattern 7. In pattern 7, what we are doing? We have B first and we have BA. If you see what we have to use here, for pattern 7, if you see, we simply have to do one change, that is, so we are starting at 1, stop at 6, so print the spaces, 2, 5 minus I, plus, concatenate it, use the join method, and what we have to do? We have to, we'll do for characters, and I'm giving you the assignment where you do for numbers. Start at 65 and we have to do what? J modulo 2. I'll tell you why. Let me complete this. For j in range of j in range of 1 to I plus 1. So why am I using j modulo division 2 here is, see, for characters the initial 65 represents A. So we are saying, if you see, the first element is B and BA is there. If you see, the odd numbers places have B and even number places have A. So when it is, when the modulo division is 0, we need to print A, that is even places A, and in the odd places we have to print B. That is what we are doing here. Let's execute this. So it is solved. So what about pattern 8? Pattern 8, if you see, it is also the same, but it is again inverted. What do we need to do for inverted patterns? Start at 5, stop at 0, and decrement by -1. There you go. Pattern 8 is solved. So we solved both pattern 7 and pattern 8. Now let's solve the pattern 9. So if you see, we have to start at 1, stop at 6, and here instead of A, instead of, in the previous problem we had B and then BA, here we have A and then AB. What do we need to do here so that we can print A instead of B first? We simply have to do one simple thing. We have to do J minus 1 and then we have to do the modulo division 2. Let's see if it works as expected. See, what we are doing is we are subtracting 1 from J and we are doing modulo division with 2 so that we could get A in the odd places and B in the even places. How can we do for pattern 10? If you see, we simply need to do one thing. We have to change the outer for loop range, start at 5, stop at 0, decrement by -1. Here you go. So in this way, we have solved nearly 22 patterns and it is really this simple. We simply need to understand how inner for loops and outer for loops works. If we can understand how these two works, we can do many things, and it is always exciting to solve this kind of problems. If you have any questions or doubt, please comment in the comment section. And if you have not subscribed till now, please kindly subscribe to Target 45. We are daily going to solve this kind of problems. Thank you.